1. It started with me meeting this guy on Tinder. Now, he seemed normal when we were conversing, and he was super easy to talk to because he seemed like he was interested in the same hobbies as me. Boy, was I wrong. About a week goes by with casual conversations here and there, with all signs pointing that he wasn't a psycho. So I decided to make the first move and ask him out to dinner one night. He accepted the offer, and we settled on a night the following week. This is where things start to go south. A couple days later, we were again having a casual conversation, and he brought up that he took the day off from work for some time alone. Now, I totally get that, but he sent me a list of what he does every 3 months for his personal days. It went something like this. Like computer cleaning, virus check, attention to detail of physical health, at least 30 minutes of time on the natural earth, drain negative energy. Disk cleanup, clean and organize everything involved in your life. Error check. Get the opinion of 3 different people who care about you, and find out what you can do better. Defrag. Thoughtful meditation. Optimize. Decisive action. Strike 1. He treats himself like a computer. Shit. Well, I had already made plans with him, and I don't want to cancel and be rude. So we agreed to meet at a pizza place. The first thing I noticed about him is that he wasn't as cute as he was in his pictures. His voice was also a lot lower than I was expecting, which only added to the whole hippy-dippy vibe I was getting from him. Strike 2. He wanted to eat outside, which I was totally cool with because it was nice out, and I thought that was the only reason. Nope, he wanted to vape on his homemade wheat juice. He was getting stoned on our first date. Great. Strike 3. We started looking through the menu and he said something along the lines of that he probably wasn't going to get anything because he was a pescatarian. Then why in the hell did he agree to a pizza place? We ended up getting a spinach artichoke dip to split. Strike 4. He mentioned that he used to live in a neighborhood that's nearby the mall I work at. A semi-truck passed. The pizza place was on a busy road, so I couldn't hear him 100% when he said the next thing. He either took his dog walking or took his daughter out in that neighborhood. I do remember seeing him holding a child on his shoulders in one of his pictures. He possibly has a kid. I didn't ask about it any further. Strike 5. We both ordered waters and they came with lemons. Right next to us was a giant pot with some sort of dying plant. He then starts squeezing the lemon onto the pot. He then starts putting the seeds from the lemon into the soil, all the while maintaining a casual conversation. His only explanation that he provided a moment later was that he didn't want seeds in his water. I think he just didn't want the lemon. He also went on about how he normally doesn't order water when he goes out, because of all the fluoride in it that the government adds. He apparently also only uses spring water to drink, cook with, and brush his teeth with. He decided this was a good time to tell me that he makes his own toothpaste. He makes his own toothpaste and only drinks water from a glacier's butthole. Okay. Strike 6. He used to work for the same clothing store company I currently work at. He was fired because he was arrested and served time in prison for drug dealing. Yep, he just freely admitted that one to me. Oh yeah, he also did ecstasy during his day job. Strike 7. You know that one part in Donnie Darko where the teacher is dividing the human emotions into love and fear? Well, he pretty much kept going back to the idea that everything we do relates back to positive and negative emotions. That got annoying after a while. Strike 8. We finally call it a night. He kind of whips out a "I believe in splitting the bill" type thing, and then said, "I usually just ask for people to chip in on the tip. I only had $1 and my debit card in my wallet. This was the $1 I won from a contest at work. That was my vending machine money for my snack break at work, and he took it from me." strike 9. He walked me out to my car and we said our goodbyes. While I was settling in my car, I saw him get in his car. When I put my car in drive, I noticed he got out of his car immediately. I thought maybe he left something in the restaurant, so I was going to wait to make sure he got back to his car safely. He started to head for the woods behind the pizza place instead. That's when I got the hell out of Dodge. There were only 2 possibilities. 1, public urination. 2, the car wasn't even his, and it was only a front to hide the fact that he lives in the woods, like the dirty hippie he was. I never saw him again. 2. This is a story of unrequited love, of deep-rooted emotions of anguish. Well, at least from his side of things. See, I met 2 guys on the same day. One I was interested in, one I wasn't. We'll call the guy I was into Edward, the other Jacob. You'll see why. So I met Edward at a con. We talked, exchanged info. We're clearly into each other. Cool. About 2 hours later, as I was sitting at the mall food court having a bite to eat with some friends, Jacob appeared. He happened to know one of my friends who happened to be sitting right across from me at the table. So he came over. After saying hello to my friend, he asked who I was. Jacob: "So who is she?" Friend: "Oh, this is Bellrock, this is Jacob. Me, hi." Jacob: "I'd never seen you before." Me. Friend: Jacob: "Well, I really hope to see you around." Friend: Me. Sure. Then he just kinda walked away. When I got home, I had a Facebook friend request from Edward, and message from my friend that said Jacob had called him and asked for my number. My friend told him he couldn't just give my number out without my permission, but that he'd ask me if Jacob could add me on Facebook. I asked my friend if the guy was a psychopath, and he said no. That he'd known him for years and had never heard of anything like that concerning him. So I figured I could add him and then block him if he turned out to be an ass. About 10 minutes later, he'd already sent the request. I tried to find the message so I could post a screenshot here, because this shit is honestly kinda hard to believe, but I guess it's too far back. Believe me when I say, though, I cannot make this fuckery up. My mind is not capable. It would implode. The cringiness of it would kill me. You know, there's one of the Twilight movies in which Bella asks Jacob what imprinting is, and Jacob goes into this whole spiel about how it being like it's not gravity holding you to Earth anymore, but the one you imprint on, yada yada, right? He sent me that whole speech. All of it, not a copy-paste either. He fucking took the time to type that shit out. I didn't know what the actual fuck I was reading at first, but then it dawned on me. What the actual fuck? I couldn't wrap my head around that shit, so I responded, "But you just met me." To which he, in turn, responded with, and I shit you not, "I feel like I've known you for a long time." I said 2 words to him. Literally 2 words. Instant unfriend. That, however, was not the last time I spoke to Jacob. In fact, that was just the tip of the iceberg because, amazingly, I did somehow end up dating him a couple of years after. 3. This is a continuation of the saga of Jacob. Jacob and I had become pretty good friends, actually. He's not a bad guy, he's just cringy as fuck. So after about 1.5 years of knowing each other, he decided to try his luck again and ask me out. I figured, hey, he's a good friend, he's an attractive guy. I'ma give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe it'll be nice. Oh, sweet summer child. We went to the mall, which is where we went every damn weekend. I wasn't expecting dinner at a 5-star restaurant, but damn. A walk in the park, maybe. A stroll at the beach. An ice cream parlor. Fucking anything but the mall. Whatever, I could deal with it. After about an hour and a half at the mall, he asked if I wanted to go to his house to play video games. Now, many of you might be screaming at this point because it should have been a red flag. But that wasn't my first time going to his house. We played video games there all the fucking time, and I figured, since the hangout at the mall was the same as always, there was nothing weird about going over to his house, like I always fucking did. So off we went. When we got there, he asked if I wanted something to drink, which I did. So he checked the fridge only to find out that he'd run out of drinks. There was a Walgreens at walking distance from his house, so he told me to make myself comfortable while he went to buy something to drink there. Cool. I started playing while he went. Jacob came back about 20 minutes later, served my drink and said,
"Hey, is it okay if I go take a shower really quick? It's hot out and I feel sweaty."
To which I responded, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." While he was in the shower, I went to put away the rest of the stuff he bought, because I always used to do that. Grape juice, Doritos, condoms, pretzels. Wait, what the fuck? Condoms? Really? Oh, no. This is not happening. I left everything as it was and went back to gaming. I wanted to see what his plan was. This date had not a romantic ounce in it so far. In fact, it felt like any of the other times that we'd hung out before. And he was expecting to get lucky. What? Not to mention, it was the first date. We could have known each other for 10 years and I wouldn't have cared. It was still the first date. I heard the shower turn off. Door opens. Out comes Jacob wearing nothing but a towel. He walks towards his dresser, which was right next to me. My eyes are glued to the game. He stands for a sec, pretending to rummage through the clothes in the dresser. My eyes are still glued to the game, and I have not said a peep. He walks over, stands about 4 feet in front of me, with his back to me, pretending to look around for I don't know what the fuck he was pretending to do. I see his hand very subtly go to the towel wrapped around his waist. Don't you dare. But he dared. He turned around and, oops, the towel accidentally fell right off him. Dingle dangle.
"Oh my god, sorry."
Motherfucker. You didn't even try to catch that towel. You expect me to believe that whole oopsie daisy? It seems my towel has fallen accidentally and exposed my tender bits? Would you look at that bullshit? I don't know how, but I managed to keep a straight face. I looked at him, looked at it, watched it swing there for a sec, and went right back to my game. He stood there for a second, surely wondering why I hadn't just jumped onto his dick. Then picked up the towel and covered himself again. He proceeded to sit there next to me, still in his towel, silently, while I played Little Big Planet. He got dressed about 30 minutes later. I guess he had the hope that something would happen as long as he was sitting there naked. Instead of telling him that I'd found the condoms and that there was no chance they'd be put to use that day, I chose to sit there and watch the hope in his eyes die a slow and painful death. Are you still cringing? Yeah, so am I. 4. This happened a while ago. Here is the background. Once upon a time, my dishwasher broke down. I am a horribly messy person who hates cleaning. A broken dishwasher is worse than an apocalypse for me. I checked online and the repair service could cost me more than the dishwasher. So I was quite unhappy with it, but was ready to pay. While I was dealing with the dishwasher problem, I was chatting on Tinder with some guy. So at some point he asked me what I was doing, and I just mentioned that I was trying to fix my dishwasher. To which he replied his parents own a household appliance store, and he has been repairing dishwashers since he was a toddler, so he could look into it. The offer was very tempting, but as I was not using Tinder for hookups, I did not want to mislead him and, who knows, maybe he thought I made up the story with the dishwasher. Or he was lying about being able to repair it. The only phrase in my bio, was that I was not looking for one-night stands or hookups. But I had been reading Reddit for a while to know what people think about such phrases, so I told him again that I would usually never invite a guy to my flat on the first date. But if he was really okay with looking into what was wrong with the dishwasher, then I could make an exception, and that I was not looking for hookups. He was cool with it. So I ordered pizzas, bought 3 different types of nice, relatively expensive wine, as I was not sure which one he would prefer, just to show that I did not want to use him out, and put some effort into it too. So he arrived at my place in the evening. He was okay looking, not hot, but not bad. So I showed him the dishwasher. The dude looked quite surprised that it was actually broken. He managed to fix it very quickly, as the problem was really trivial. Pretty much just pressing one button, so it took him around 3 minutes to fix it. But while he was fixing it, he turned out to be the sleaziest person I had ever met. He put on this disgusting high-pitched seductive voice, and was saying things like, this dishwasher is so wet, and this pipe is so thick. I cringed but wanted to laugh at the same time. By the time he was done with the dishwasher, I just wanted him to leave, but I felt like that would be too rude, so I invited him for the pizzas I ordered, and asked him to choose the wine. He immediately lay down on my sofa. Is that what you do as a guest for the first time in someone's house? And asked to turn on a movie. So we started watching The Walking Dead. He was lying on my sofa, me sitting on a chair next to it. He was making some remarks about the show. The one that gave me the biggest cringe was when there was a brief picture of a baby and he said with a high-pitched voice, "Aw, what a cute little baby. Do you like babies? Or do you prefer the process of making them?" English was not his mother tongue, but we spoke English to each other. The other time, he looked at me, moved a bit on the sofa, and asked if I wanted to join him. Hell no. So we watched one episode, and I felt like it was the right time for him to go home. But I did not know how to tell him to go. He knew that I traveled a lot, and I did a lot of couch surfing. So his remark was, "Why don't you just go to a club and pick up someone there so that you could sleep at his place?" I said that just as before I was not interested in casual hookups, so it was not an option. Then he started telling about how he would pick up a girl in a club every week and would go home with her. Remember, it was all said in a high-pitched seductive voice. Finally, he saw that neither his seductive voice nor stories about his sexual adventures turned me on. Suddenly, the seductive voice disappeared, and I already started thinking it was some kind of speech impediment. And he asked me if, while traveling, I had ever been sexually assaulted. I said no. To which he replied that it was hard to believe that such an attractive girl had never been raped while traveling alone. Credits to him for the possibly worst compliment I had ever got. I said I was always careful about who I was staying with and where I was going. Then he said that I had invited him to my flat and it was not very careful. It was getting a bit creepy, to which I replied that I made a screenshot of all his pictures and sent it to my best friend, as well as his phone number and all the information he shared about his job. Then he started telling me about how he could actually have used a prepaid SIM card, and he could have lied about his job and his name. So he was obviously getting aggressive and frustrated that it was not a hookup. One can usually hear my neighbors in my flat, so I told him that I felt safe as my neighbors could hear me just as good as I can hear them, and in case of any attack, I would scream and they would call the police. At that point, he said he was tired and left for home. Next day, he texted me, but I ignored. I am still not sure why he initiated that final conversation. I think he was frustrated about not getting a hookup and wanted to scare me. I still was quite annoyed with it, considering that I stated twice, including the bio, that I was not interested in a hookup. 5. So this just happened today. Against my better judgment, at the beginning of the month, I got a Tinder. I matched with a few guys, etc. One of them is James. We ended up texting each other and he seemed pretty chill and pretty into me. He's a decent-looking guy and we seemed to click. He had apparently been in a really abusive relationship with a woman and was looking to start over. According to him, she had hit him with a frying pan and pepper sprayed him once. He kept going on about how crazy she was. Alright, it happens. We went out to the movies this past Friday and I had a great time. We ended up talking for a few hours and we hit it off pretty well. I asked about the ex because I was a bit curious as to why he'd stay with someone like that. He didn't see anything positive about her. Just that she was crazy, had mental illnesses, and didn't take her meds, that kind of stuff. She had tried to baby trap him but had a miscarriage. He expressed relief that she didn't end up with the kid. He said he had felt obligated to her. Again, I get that. In all, I had a good time. The morning rolls around, and he tells me that he hooked up with his ex last night, and that he was going to try and work things out with her. Mildly insulting that I lost out to an abusive chick, but whatever. I tell him it's cool. He then, a few hours later, texted me to say that she was crazy, and he thought she was changing, but she wasn't, blah blah. He kept asking if he could see me. He was being very pushy about wanting to see me today. He begged for 5 minutes of my time, so he could explain to me. I politely told him that I didn't want to get involved with someone who was so clearly hung up on his ex. And this is where it got nuts. He admitted he still was, but that he wanted to see me today so I could meet her and she could determine if I was better for him than she was, and that she wanted him to be happy, because he and I had a connection. I flipped after that, told him that the fact that he needed his ex to determine who was right for him was absolutely nuts, and that is not what love is, and that I wanted no part of it. His ex started texting me after that, and it was non-stop insults and incoherent shit that made no sense. She also dropped the bomb that she was his wife. I told her to fuck off, basically, and blocked the number. I went on Tinder to message him where I called him a piece of shit, and if he was intelligent, he should leave her and never message me again. He started to harass me, saying that I was miserable because they have a beautiful love together, and all this crazy shit. He then went on to say, "My wife knows where you work, I hope she doesn't do anything rash." And I told him if that was a threat, I would gladly go to the police. He then said she's been to jail before, she's not afraid, and that she loves him so much she'd fuck up anyone and risk jail for him. And she'd kill my friends if they tried to protect me. That she's armed and dangerous. I told him goodbye, reported him and deleted my Tinder account. I did go to the police tonight, but since it wasn't a direct threat, they can't do much. The cop thinks that James was more or less full of shit and just trying to scare me, since some people love getting off in that shit. He said I did the right thing by blocking him and reporting him. He said that I should just keep my eyes open and alert the people at my job. The scary thing is, James seemed perfectly normal. But he lied about being married, how he felt towards his wife, and he flipped like a switch. His excuse for not being upfront about being married was that they were going to get a divorce. He seemed so docile and unassuming, and the hatred and aggressive attitude was insane. I have to honestly wonder, what would have happened had I gone to talk for 5 minutes? I'm kinda concerned since they do know where I work. But if either of them try anything, then the cops can actually nail them. What a weekend. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to my latest Dating Hell video. Thank you very much to all the super kind folks who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Hope you guys are all having a nice weekend. I'm probably not going to be doing much relaxing. I'm going to be doing a bit of work on my 30 stories video. I've got another 11 stories there to record. I'll need to get 9 more, I think. But that should be okay. I've got a couple of weeks to do that. So I'll try and knock them out over the weekend. And if I'm feeling into it, doing a bit of editing. And I've got a few other things and bits and bobs to do around the house, although hopefully by the time you're hearing this, I'll already have taken care of those. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.